Welcome to another OCD Recovery Instagram Live. Just coming on here quickly to do some questions and answers. So if you have anything you want to ask in relation to OCD, feel free and I will cover that now. So I've been speaking a bit about, for the last couple of days, about things that we need to look at in our lives in relation to where we say certain things to ourselves, like, this isn't supposed to happen to me. And we think to ourselves, the universe must treat me in a certain way. The universe is not obligated to treat you in any way. The world and the universe has been here long before you and I have ever been here. So it's certainly not factoring in us. And we get very much into emotional discomfort when we start to think it does, and it has to. And people are supposed to do a certain thing, and we're supposed to be treated a certain way, or because we've worked hard, we deserve a certain thing, or because we've done something badly, we deserve something to happen. Well, that's not how it works. If it worked like that, every criminal or anyone who's hurt someone really badly would be punished in one way or another, which obviously doesn't happen, because we've seen many people like that live long lives and very happily, or maybe not happily because we don't know what's going on in their head. They certainly haven't gone to jail. And in relation to people who've worked hard and done things and put in all the effort and haven't met a nice outcome. In history, you'll find many cases of people that worked hard and did the right thing that got a horrible disease or died in a war or had their business destroyed or something like that. So don't think for a second in that idea that the universe has got to do anything for you, because it certainly doesn't, and that's what causes so much problems. And we all do it. We all think from time to time that the universe must factor us in and the world must treat us a certain way, and that's what gets us in trouble, that musting, where we start doing that. And that's what makes us angry, when we start thinking, oh, I must be fairly treated, I must be respected, I must whatever. And there's nowhere that says we have to. The universe has not got that written in the sky or etched into the floor. It'd be nice if that happens. It would be nice if we are. But there's nowhere that says we must. And when we do that, we don't get angry. We don't feel anger and anxiety. We can accept it and see it for what it is, whilst working towards the things we want. But it's very important to factor in and to look at that there is nothing that's saying it has to be a certain way. It must be that way. And you've really got to look at that, and you've got to think about that, because when you do, that's what gets under it and releases it. And it stops you from emotionally disturbing yourself, because you contributed to it. Far too often you hear therapists and different people talk about feeling anxiety, feeling anger, as if that's the all long-term cure. It certainly isn't. You're going to have to feel that anxiety and that anger in the short term. Yeah, that's right. But if you don't get under what's causing it and contributing to it, you're going to be feeling it long term. And I certainly don't want to walk around feeling angry all day or anxious all day. So I need to find out what those beliefs are that's causing that. People often like to cling on to anger like it's the one emotion. They want to get rid of every other thing but that. They want to keep that because they feel that otherwise life becomes too dull. It doesn't. You can be just as content in life without it. You'll still feel it maybe in a little dose whilst you go over your beliefs, but you don't want it chronic or long term, pushing and pulling you all over the place and making you make bad decisions. And it's always caused by those things. The musts in there. This must be a certain way. The same as with anxiety. This is awful. This is terrible. This is the worst thing ever if this happens. I can't stand it if it happens. That sort of I can't stand it-itis, which is the problem, where we say to ourselves, I can't stand it, where we've actually stood it for our whole life. And we're all standing here. If you're on here watching this, you've stood it. No matter how anxious you've been, no matter how many physical symptoms you've had, no matter what you've experienced, you've stood it. And it's showing yourself that again and again, that you can stand it through all of this. Now, let me have a look at these questions before I go off on that topic. Let's have a look here. Only doing a short Instagram live because I haven't been on for this week really. Or I was earlier at the beginning of the week. Does medication affect you in different ways? I never took medication, so I can't comment from a personal experience of medication. I want to know if I get a theme from time to time. Is it a relapse or I haven't healed at all? You will get different themes come along at different times. Don't be too concerned if it's a relapse or whatever. It's just having those themes. You will get different themes. Themes are thoughts. Forget the word themes. You're just having different thoughts. That will happen and that will occur throughout time. Don't worry about that. Leave that be. Don't be too concerned if you relapse. So what if you relapse? I relapsed the setbacks many times. You know, as you're learning the journey, you're learning through the steps, you're going to have that happen. And that's okay. That's part of the journey. But don't be too hard on yourself. Harder you are on yourself for those kind of things, you come down on yourself too hard, that stops you from moving forward. So you want to acknowledge it, but at the same time, move forward and do the things that you need to get better. Hi Rob, read a lot of books on OCD. Why was Albert Ellis so impactful? Well, Albert Ellis founded CBT with Aaron Beck. He invented REBT, Rational Motive Behavior Therapy, which came from the Greek and Roman philosophy, learning to see how when we think rationally and not in these extreme must beliefs and extreme rigid black and white thinking and awfulizing and catastrophizing, we don't disturb ourselves emotionally. So that's why it was hugely impactful, because that's the driving force behind anxiety. And OCD is an anxiety disorder, so he was hugely important for that. Can anxiety mimic depression? Absolutely. Anxiety can mimic anything we're scared of, pretty much. It's very good at that. And it can get right in there and make it feel really, really real. Certainly did for me. Never experienced depression, but for how it can mimic things, it certainly did that to make me convinced I had, but I didn't. It was just of how it was creating that, as it does with all the different thoughts. Can you talk about depersonalization, existential questions about the self? I've got a whole existential video on YouTube, so if you check that and have a look at that, it covers that. And I think I've got a video on depersonalization. If you look on there, there should be one too. If there isn't, message me and I will get one up. Depersonalization, the main problem with it is you need to wear it like an uncomfortable coat. You need to feel it, experience it, not try and get rid of it. When you're trying to get to another emotional state and position to try and get away from one, you're going to feel terrible because you're trying to be in another thing than you are. You can't do that, and that instantly creates a sort of pushing and pulling, anxiety escaping sensation. Now when you do that and you try and escape anxiety, what happens? It fuels it. So that's certainly not what you want to be doing. Fear of schizophrenia, you need to move towards schizophrenia. Look, to show you, for someone who's on the other side, i.e. me, with schizophrenia, it was only when I became accepting of that and realized that people can still live good lives even if they had schizophrenia, and it's not the end of the world. They can still function, they can still live. Watching TED Talks on people living with schizophrenia and documentaries and so on, really good to get in there. When you make peace with that, it releases. It's not going to get you on things that you're not scared of. Okay guys, it was just a very short video just to come on here, get back on here and do a few questions and answers. I'll be back on later in the week with a longer Instagram live, and I will see you guys then. All right guys, take it easy.